And lately on all the social media, I've been talking about this topic of AI and permaculture. I've been getting a lot of really interesting feedback and discussion. So tonight, I wanted to have a bigger discussion of the broader implications with a lot more depth and a lot more nuance. And to ask you and to ask us to think together about what are we going to do about this and what is the right way to interact with this technology, and can we use it? Can we put it to use in permaculture? And if we can, how do we put it to use in permaculture? By the way, thank you for joining me. Also, as we go, I will certainly answer a few gardening questions. If you've got them, you can throw them into the thing, as you usually do, and I will be happy to respond to those questions and answer a few gardening questions as we go about our topic of talking about AI and permaculture. So, there's a great place to start this discussion, other than with this kitty cat. Hello, Mercury. How are you doing? And we'll return to this in a moment. And while I'm on here and you all are tuning in and listening, again, another little piece of news. In January, I will be starting, the middle of January, I will be starting my next permaculture design course and program for people who want to do the community supported permaculture business model. So if you're out there and you want to make your permaculture hobby and your garden into something that can make a little bit of cash for you, and you have a few dozen friends that you might want to, who might be willing to sign up and do a program with you, then it's a really great model to do that, and it's possible to also turn into something resembling a full-time income or even a successful full-time income. So look out for that. It'll be coming in January. So this topic of AI and why I'm talking about it. Thank you again for the weird heart hat. This was labeled as a rat and published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal. It is a rat with, well, actually it's a squirrel. It's biologically and anatomically more of a squirrel. And it has an enormous, yikes forever. And it also has multiple,
It is a squirrel, so these are nuts, no?
balls, I guess. This was published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal, Frontiers in Cell and Development Biology. And it was created, it turned out later, it was created by AI. And what researchers had done, they had put together their research, and then they let AI, something like ChatGPT, write their paper for them, and then they submitted the ChatGPT paper with the illustrations it made. Unfortunately, this is an lettuce or cancer cell that does not exist. That is some made up nonsense. And so the paper actually had a lot of other made up nonsense in it too. And this is one of the problems with AI. It can write really compelling stuff, and that's how it got published in the peer-reviewed journal. People read it, the peer reviewers probably read it, it sounded like it was great scholarly writing, it cited sources, they passed it. Nobody really looked at it or identified or really looked for mistakes or problems with the information, such as this rat actually being a squirrel, and like no human would make this image with the right? Nobody would do that. Only an AI would totally mistake the appropriateness of this. ChatGPT launched in December of 2022. So starting in early 2023, people began using it for things like this. And the number of books published to Amazon has exploded. I've read some reports that it has increased 100-fold. There were 100 times, not just like 10 times, 100 times more books being published now to Amazon than before ChatGPT. And probably the vast majority of those books are generated, at least in part, by AI. And the problem with it is it can make really compelling looking materials. It can make really compelling looking writing. I'm going to read you some pieces and we'll look at some of the things that it makes. And it's really compelling. It's well done. And it's really difficult to tell that it's yikes forever indeed. And it's difficult to tell what is AI and what is not these days unless you really know the information well. And this is scary because AI books are being published and they're not just slipping pie. The #1 selling permaculture book on Amazon at this moment is clearly an AI written book. But there are a lot of different kinds of books being written by AI, like all of these. And a lot of these have literally hundreds of 5-star reviews and hundreds of reviews written on them. And they all say this is a really super great book, the best book about permaculture ever written. I would guess that the top 3 best-selling permaculture books at this moment are actually all written by AI bots, and they have fake authors. Fake authors like this guy. Benjamin Johnson, a former organic market gardener. Wow, that's impressive. They all have very impressive bios. The problem with this guy is that he also has been like a bunch of different things, and he's published a bunch of different books under different names. He is also Dominic Bob, the SoundCloud DJ, with his article on 5 reasons why men stay single. And he's also Denny Rudolph, who does like consultation on operations, supervision, and management in various industries. You could hire him. And so he does a lot of different things. By the way, I'm getting this from my Facebook friend, Gavin Gardens, and the authors of a lot of these books are the same thing. They use the same, which is really kind of funny. It's funny how lazy it is. You don't even go and get a different stock photo. You just use the same stock photograph over and over and over again. Come on. Can't you do better than that? This is the guy who wrote the top-selling permaculture book right now. And I can't remember his name, but I mean, it's fine because, oh shoot, his pictures got cut off over here, because he's got a bunch of books in all different industries, all published under different names with different bios using the same picture. He's a really busy guy using a bunch of different pseudonyms. Now, and these books are dominating the topics of gardening, permaculture, seed saving, foraging, which is very scary. If you also follow Sam Thayer on any social media, somebody who's inspired me for decades, you'll see he's been talking about the dangerous information that's being printed in these books, such as the cell, right? You know, the AI, the problem with it, it sounds really compelling. The voice is great. These books are really beautifully written. They've got great, charming, humorous voices. This is really good writing. Unfortunately, the information is all garbage. And then, so this leads us to this question, like, how does the information get to be garbage? This is a good time to talk again about and introduce Shrimp Jesus. Now, Shrimp Jesus is a peculiar and odd thing, because it turns out that what we know about our Lord and Savior Shrimp Jesus is that it was originally created by an AI bot. And the bot was designed to farm content and to build a strong social media following. So the bot was designed to create content that humans would want to like, comment on, and share. And if you're an AI bot, what else would you think? Humans love shrimp. Humans love Jesus. Humans are gonna love Shrimp Jesus. So the AI bot made Shrimp Jesus, but that's not where the story ends. Because what happened next was that Shrimp Jesus ended up going viral and getting shared like 20,000 times and getting tons of comments. And the comments weren't, haha, this is funny or this is weird. The comments were things like, amen and praise him and hearts and heart and tear emojis and things like this. And when people analyze those in those accounts, probably most of those accounts were also bot accounts. Now, this was a different set of bots with a different job, meant to go out there and influence public opinion and pretend to be real people. They participate in things like internet forums, on Quora, on Facebook, on YouTube, all over the place. And these fake accounts, these AI accounts, well, they saw this and they're designed to like and share things that they think humans would like and share. And of course, they saw this and thought humans love shrimp and humans love Jesus like that, because a human is going to like and share shrimp Jesus. So, shrimp Jesus, and then the story doesn't end there. Another class of AI bots designed to search through the internet and find viral content and replicate it, found Shrimp Jesus, saw that it had gone viral, and imitated Shrimp Jesus. Now, you can search the internet and you can find articles about this. You can find lots of different examples. Shrimp Jesus has become the first meme, probably almost exclusively created by AI bots for an audience of AI bots. This is what some people are calling the dead internet theory. And the dead internet theory implies that there are so many bots behaving in this type of behavior in every sort of industry, from healthcare and medicine to politics, to talking about who to vote for, and talking about permaculture and foraging and gardening, all these different topics, that you could end up in a place like a thread that apparently has 20,000 shares and lots of comments. And it's possible that you're in a dead part of the internet and that there's actually no humans there. It's all bots communicating with each other, hoping that they're communicating with humans. You know, they can't tell the difference. And this is how we see how things like this happen. What? I don't want to know. Anyway, the way this happens is that the bots are programmed to prioritize, when they're searching for information for people who use it, they're programmed to search and prioritize sources like Reddit and Quora. And the reason why, especially for their informational hierarchy, we also know that these bots are largely populating things like Quora and Reddit and Facebook. And the reason why AI is programmed to prioritize those is because you can vote on information. If they get information from like a scientific journal or a university, they can't tell if that information is going to be liked by people or if people have vetted it and consider it good information. So the AI bots, when they see something gets a lot of likes, they believe that this information then has been vetted by humans who have liked it. And that's how they're programmed to search and prioritize information. Well, that's a problem if what we have are a bunch of bots acting like we know they were with Shrimp Jesus. Because the bots are just going to pick up on things like, for example, there was a famous controversy where AI recommended that it was good for your health to eat 1 pebble a day, right? And then there was another one where somebody asked it what good toppings were for pizza, and it told them glue. Glue is a good topping for pizza, according to the same sort of intelligence that thought that humans would love Shrimp Jesus. And how this happens is that, in some kind of a discussion in a place like Reddit, some joker threw in there that glue would be a good topping for pizza, and other humans, they probably said it in a funny way, and other humans thought it was unexpected, and they liked it. They upvoted it or laugh reacted to it because it was funny. The bots can't tell the difference between what is sarcasm and what is humor and what is good quality information. They just saw that it got the most votes in that thread, and that means the humans endorse that glue is a good topping for pizza. And the same exact things are how these sorts of, and then the AI bots see that and they join in Well, if humans are liking this, and I want to pretend to be a human, I gotta like it too. And so it creates this idea of the dead internet, where bots are creating content for bots, and then the bots are creating more content based on that content. They're no longer just using good human sources for information. The bots themselves and the stuff they make up have become the source of the information. Brings up another question, like how is it that these bots or these books are getting so many reviews? Oh shoot, this one got a little bit cut off. Let's see, I can put it on here. This is great stuff. It turns out that we also know that people are programming ChatGPT bots, AI bots, to write reviews on places like Amazon and other stores for things like books. Well, if you're going to publish an AI book and you don't have a social media presence and you don't have like friends and advocates in real life, how are you going to sell it? You get a bunch of good reviews. How do you get a bunch of good reviews? You buy bots that have been developed and have faked their way into being seen by the Amazon system as real, and you get the bots to write reviews. Unfortunately, some of the bots sometimes kind of don't understand the main idea of the nefarious activity that they're being designed to do. And so something that's really common in these reviews are things like this on a garment for pregnancy. I don't have a body. Oh, the part that got cut off over here was, as an AI learning model, I don't have a body, but I understand the importance of comfortable maternity clothes. Now, of course, CBC, I believe, went through and they found hundreds of reviews on Amazon where this phrase was mistakenly left in by the bots that were programmed wrong. They say in the reviews, as an AI learning model, this is my opinion of this topic or of this book. Unfortunately, since that review or that thing came out about a year ago, most of the people writing these bots have figured out, see 2023, most of these bots have figured out how to do better than that, and it's rare to find them that still leave in signs that they're actually written by AI. Sometimes there's gibberish in them. Sometimes they're just weird sounding reviews that don't sound like they're actually written by humans. But so when we see these best-selling, apparently, permaculture books that rank really well in the Amazon sales data, and foraging books and seed-saving books and so on, and they have hundreds of positive reviews, it's very possible that those reviews are not real. These books are all probably AI books. I love this one because there's a bunch of different books. They're all very tiny. This is the Seed Saving Bible, 7 books in one. It's probably like a 4,000 or 5,000 word document. It's very short. It's about this thin. It's very small book with very little information in it. Again, there's a great article, my friend who blogs under Gavin Gardens. You can find him on Facebook, you can find his blog, and he did a whole article about has there been like an explosion of AI books on Amazon? Yes, there have. But this one is funny because the same person probably, I think it's the same person who did the couple of best-selling permaculture books. He's got multiple books all titled the same thing, the Seed Saving Bible. They've got different covers. This one is practically the same book, but this one isn't 7 books in one. This one is 10 books in one. It's only about that big, but it's 10 books in one. And all of these, like this one has 300 reviews and 300 5-star reviews. This one, 85, 120. Looks like one real human actually bought this and gave it a mixed review. Now, so for one, I said I was going to give you a more nuanced discussion and talk about this. And so one of the first things I would say is if you're looking for books, and you find a book, like Permaculture Gardening for Beginners, for Absolute Beginners, or the Permaculture gardening handbook and stuff like that. And they have cheesy AI covers. This is the cover of a book. I don't want to mention the books by name because I don't want to get sued by anybody. But this is an image from the cover of one of the books. If you look at the cover from afar, it looks photorealistic. This actually looks on the screen right now. It doesn't look real. You can tell when it's blown up like that. But on the cover of the book, this looks like a photorealistic image. It looks like it's not AI. This looks like it's somebody's real garden. There are other images in the book. They look from afar like they're real images, but they're actually AI generated images. Here's one by the same author. Oh, I want his name to show. And this one's on companion planting. He published a bunch of books under a bunch of names, dozens of books in dozens of industry, and they, within a few months. There's no way these were actually written by a human, right? And again, if you look at this from afar, it could just look like a low quality picture, but this is definitely an AI generated image on this companion planting book. The book's on foraging. The information is very low quality, and in them there's gibberish. So again, every real human who publishes a book works their butt off on it. This book, the Beginner's Landscape Transformation Manual. This is not a small book. This is a massive tome. And it is not filled with AI images. There's actual me. This is a picture from like 2002. There's a picture of me foraging cornelian cherries in 2002. And it's filled with actual and real art made by a real artist I hired. And real pictures from a dozen different of my client gardens from around the world. This book was workshopped was written over 10 years. This took me 10 years to write this. And you can find my blog and you can see the history of the articles and the class and the materials that I made over 10 years when I started writing about this topic with this book in mind. Nobody who's a real person puts that kind of effort into writing a book and doesn't go out there and promote it and get on blogs and guest post. Oh, here's that sick thing again. Something very appropriate talking about AI, because nothing is more human than these things that make us flawed and weird and sick, right? This is a very weird book. One of the main themes in this book is that to create truly beautiful and abundant landscapes, we have to escape the rigid ideas about looking at the landscape as just being something practical and try to access wild, untamed, ancestral forms of mind. And to help people do that, there's weird stuff in this book. There's poems in this book. There's some interesting informational architecture in this book that AI would never come up with. This book is also, like a lot of books that are being published by real humans, I would not have put, this is the only book that you can find on an aesthetic approach to permaculture and treating permaculture as a spiritual path. Those are the themes of beauty and abundance. And it's the only book that exists on that topic. If I wanted to write a book that would just be a bestseller, I would have written another Permaculture for Absolute Beginners or the Permaculture Gardener Handbook or something like that, right? Because those are going to go over well on the Amazon model. I just would, you can write an AI book like that. It could spit out 10 books this size in a couple weeks. But the information would not be new. The information would not be novel because AI can't do that. Steal things and rearrange them. And it tends to rearrange them in very banal, predictable ways. So, again, one of the first kind of take-homes here is if you're looking for resources, you're looking for books, does the author of the book have a podcast you can listen to? Do they have pictures of their actual garden that aren't, when you focus in and zoom in on them, bizarre AI stuff. I don't think that person's head is attached to their body. And that wheelchair only has one wheel. And I think they're filling up water in a shoe. Yeah, it's weird stuff, right? And again, this is a great metaphor for the kind of information that are in those books and resources. They look good at first, but they're actually kind of nonsense. There are a couple of high-profile permaculture teachers who have embraced using AI and are actually teaching their students to write AI books and use AI to write permaculture books and publish them on Amazon. And I want to discuss this in the fullest complexity, because what those people are saying, with a lot of critics of my message and me talking about the poor quality of this information, what they were saying was the AI models in ChatGPT democratize being able to write a book and democratize sharing information. And they considered my message of being wary of this to be ableist, which I want to acknowledge is in some ways a valuable point. What they were saying was a lot of those 100 times new books that are being published on Amazon were people out there who took a PDC at some point, maybe started writing a book about it, maybe wrote a few blog posts or something like that, always had the dream of writing a book. But they couldn't do it in their busy lives. This is maybe one critic of mine pointed out to me, this may be especially true of people like women who are nurturing children and they're very busy. They don't have the opportunity that I had to spend months compiling one book and editing it as a full-time job. So that's a valid thing, but let's reframe the idea of the access and democratization of information, because there's this idea of like the Tower of Babel, the Library of Babel. And the Library of Babel was, I think, a concept by an AI author, or by, by a science fiction writer, who proposed the idea of a library where to write all of the possible books. They started at AAAAA, right? And they made an infinite number of books with all of the possible configurations of the English language in it. And so the library already has every book, right? It's that idea of like monkeys, like if monkeys at a keyboard type for an eternity, at some point they're going to write Hamlet. If they just keep randomly generating text for an infinity, some portion of that infinite amount of text will be Hamlet. This library of Babel would contain literally all possible information. The problem is, it is impossible to find anything of value in it. It's so vast, there's so much information, so much of it is drivel that anybody cannot find what's the good information from what's the bad information and sort it all out. So in a way, at first it sounds like, people who've been permaculturists and they've dreamed of writing a book for decades, and finally they have the tool, ChatGPT, and they can write a book in a week. They can take 1 week off, take a vacation, and write a whole 300-page book. They would have never been able to do that otherwise. The problem is, tons of people were able to do that all at once. So the value of those individual books on the market, what they mean, and whether or not they're going to connect with an audience has gone down dramatically. So those books, it's like screaming into the void. People are writing those books for the first time, and they're able to write them, but they're writing them for a dead internet. Maybe the only people who are reading and reviewing those books are Shrimp Jesus. In the end, what AI does is it looks out and finds things on Reddit and Quora and repeats information that's popular, repeats information that's been out there for a long time. I would not have written this book. I would not have sacrificed the time in my life to create this massive tome if I didn't think that it was new information, new ideas, completely things that are not available in the market anywhere else. This thing, even though it's smaller, there's no other book on keyhole patterns and these polyculture designs I worked, again, for decades using these gardens, testing them in the real world. It's a unique and valuable book that this is the only book that has this information. AI cannot do that. AI could not create a book that's new information. For example, some people repeated to me when they were challenging me, they had AI, they had ChatGPT, write what is permaculture? And ChatGPT gave cogent sounding ideas about permaculture is a nature philosophy, which I disagree with. And it talked about the ethics, it talked about the 12 homegrown principles. These things have been on the internet for decades. AI found things that have been on the internet for decades and repeated them. But to me, in my books, if you look at the beginner's landscape design manual, I did not see there being value in repeating that same definition and that same story of permaculture. And permaculture is growing. We've had amazing discussions. People like the late Dan. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right now. Probably because I'm sick. That's the excuse I'm going to make. He had a podcast called "Making Permaculture Stronger," and hosted a lot of great discussions on permaculture. My own community, the Transformative Adventures Co-op and community, teachers that I think are some of the most interesting teachers. My students are doing amazing things. People like Joey, we've been having conversations about permaculture best practice over the last decade. And for example, when we talk about the ethics, there's been a great development in the field of ethics. Now, permaculture's traditional ethics are earth care, people care, fair share. Although one problem with the ethics is that there are now dozens of competing versions. There's earth care, some people say future care, some people say this and that and the other. There are tons of different versions of the permaculture ethics because no one can ever quite agree on them, and they're all a little bit problematic. Now, ethicists, the people who are the scientists and academics who promote what makes a good ethic for things, they have a reason why. They've proposed a reason why. And they say that for things like permaculture, where you're trying to get people motivated together and to have an ethic or under a field that they work in, like a healthcare ethic, there are papers about this in things like healthcare. These kinds of ethics, prescriptive ethics, are no longer considered a best practice. They're considered to have problems. They can come off as preachy. They can come off as less universal because not everybody believes in them. They can come off as too vague. What does earth care really mean? Better model that has better outcomes for people as individuals and better results in the real world is what they call an intrinsic ethic. Instead of it being top down and me preaching to you, you guys better care for the earth. You guys better care for people. An intrinsic ethic appeals to something you already care about and things you already care about and that everyone would care about. A common example that's given of that is the ethic in Buddhism and Taoism of skillful means. That you seek happiness, but try to be good about it. Try to be skillful about it. The ethic of skillful means is really interesting because the ethic of skillful means tells us that the way a lot of us try to seek happiness that you probably see on places like TikTok and YouTube, people, going after bling, going to parties, spending lots of money to go to trips, wherever, and willing to do things like flood Amazon with stupid AI-generated books to make $1 million. Can you be happy knowing that the way you're farming is destroying the planet? Can you be happy knowing that the clothes you're making for your business or your corporation is destroying the planet? Can you be happy as a person making millions of dollars by running a healthcare company and making, denying claims to make a buck? My business name, Transformative Adventures, came out of the architect Christopher Alexander critiquing the whole idea of design, saying that we call permaculture a design system. But when it comes down to it, most people are never going to sit down and write out a design. Most people are never going to like look at a design. They're going to play around and find out, right? They're going to F around and find out. They're going to do stuff, get stuff done, and learn as they go. This is a big, heady concept. And this too is a research-based cutting-edge development in permaculture. The Beginner's Landscape Transformation Manual is a whole program based on that idea. It is not a design book, it's a transformation. It's transformative permaculture. It is a book of projects and things you do and hopefully transform your landscape as you do it. This is kind of the same idea. It's just a bunch of garden beds. Hopefully, if you do them and play around with them, you'll learn a bunch of stuff and you'll be transforming the landscape as you go. AI cannot write a book like that. AI would never write a book like that. AI is going to go out and not find those cutting edge new informations. What is best practice in 2024? It's never going to be able to do that. AI is going to repeat old stuff. There's nothing. I actually looked and read a few of these best-selling these are the best-selling permaculture books right now, are written by AI bots. They're the best-selling books on Amazon, written by AI. There's nothing in them that hasn't been new since 1970. They're all go back to 1970. There's nothing new in those books. Why write a book with nothing new in it? And then the AI bots look at the information architecture out there and they continue to recycle that same content. It becomes a feedback loop that promotes old, outdated, bad ideas in addition to the garbage ideas, which continued over time as AI cycles through this information that's producing for itself. The ideas in it are just going to get worse and worse, right? In this generation, we're eating pebbles and glue. And in the next one, we're going to be eating glass. And in the next one, we're going to just cut off our own heads to lose 10 pounds overnight, right? This is the kind of stuff that we're going to keep getting that gradually is going to keep infiltrating through the AI model. And there's no real way to solve it because the AI can't know what's right or wrong. It can only know what's popular. So people challenged me and said, can AI, we're permaculturists. One of our principles is creatively use and respond to change. Another one of our principles is the problem is the solution. Treat every problem as a solution. And some people said to me, that means we should use AI. If we treat the problem as a solution, then that means we embrace it and use it. What do you think about that? Because I can't see the logic, how that logic is different than saying Monsanto. Monsanto products exist, glyphosate exists, pesticides exist, tillers exist. Why don't we embrace them? Right? If that's what permaculture says, why don't we embrace them? What we need is to be thoughtful and sophisticated about how we use these tools. I will not say that there's never a time when I would say you should be extremely careful and try to reduce the amount of pesticides you use. I never endorse them because I never want to be out there endorsing them. But if somebody has some use to kill, something that they can't, like an invasive plant they can't kill any other way or something, I'm not gonna talk smack about them. All right. Now this I'm going to bring back to the whole idea of permaculture. Why do we have permaculture? We have permaculture because the problem is the solution. The problem to destructive landscaping and farming and gardening practices is that it gives us an opportunity to grow something better. It gives us an opportunity to create a viable alternative. And that has become the slow food movement. Not everything is fast food. Not everything has to be fast. Not everything has to be maximum productivity and till it to oblivion and spray it with poisons. We can have slow food that's grown with love, that nurtures the earth, that has real nutrients in it. Slow food. I believe we are going to need a slow culture and slow information movement to compete with AI. Those of us who care about this sort of thing are simply going to have to say, as I've said, I will not use pesticides. I'm trying to reduce plastics. I will not endorse the use of pesticides. We'll have to take that same stand and say, I will not use AI when it comes to writing books. and it comes to organizing my books and to writing information and coming up with video scripts. I am not going to use AI to write my video scripts or my live scripts. I'm not going to use AI to make culture or information, because I believe in slow culture and slow information that truly enriches us with human experience and real ideas and cutting edge things, things that you can't find recycled infinitely on the old internet. And I want to hear more about what your ideas are about AI, how it interacts with permaculture, whether or not it can be useful, whether or not you agree with me or you disagree with me. So thank you for watching, and have a good night.